On today's episode of Locked On Avalanche, we have our morning leftovers for the Avalanche and Bruins game. The All-Star game's around the corner. Voting for players is going on, but a rule that just has to end when it comes to this All-Star game. We'll talk about that. And is Kyle's favorite non-Avalanche player on the market? I think if you're watching on YouTube, you see by his expression, he is hoping that he's willing this into existence. New episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in, making it your first listen of the day. Always appreciated. Make sure you're following us on our social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, X, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram, Threads, questions, comments, concerns, opinions, lockedonavalanche@gmail.com. And follow us over on our YouTube channel. Hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live. And make sure you are subscribed to our subtext as well. Link to that is in the show notes below. When you do, you chat with Kyle and I one-on-one, become one of our very special insiders, and we get your opinions on everything Avalanche, which we share on this very podcast. All right, yeah, we're going to save the Zegras talk for last, sir. Are you going to be able to hold out for like 20 minutes until we can talk about that?
This is Nas all over again. I don't know if my heart can handle this, but I'm here for it.
Nas ends in Z and Zegras starts with Z, so this is just a continuation.
I have a whole cork board with red string bringing this all together.
This is always sunny. You got the whole thing going all over the board. Yeah. All right, we'll get to that in a little bit. The All-Star game, we'll talk about that. We'll start before we get to the leftovers. There was a bit of news coming out, kind of big news, if you want to say, in the Avalanche world, that Artturi Lehkonen is going to make the road trip that the Avalanche are about to embark on. That's big. I mean, it's a pretty, 5-game road trip, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
So no talk on when or even if he will play in it. But if he's making that trip, you have to feel pretty good at one of those games. This isn't a 2-game or 3-game road trip. It's a pretty sizable road trip where you're kind of feeling like, okay, like, and he's been in practice and he's been getting hit in practice. So you get the vibe that if he's making this trip, maybe it's not in the first game or maybe not even in the second game, but maybe somewhere in the middle, like maybe he finally makes his return, which is great for the Avs and great just in general, because that was just an ugly hit, or not, into the boards that he went. So to see him come back is just kind of a relief on many different fronts. So we'll see.
And, if worst case scenario, you might make a good backup goalie if push comes to shove.
Oh, God. No, we don't need him there. But
no, it's refreshing to see, and we talked about this. I remember last year. Remember on the Canadian road trip that the team went on, the bonding experience. Like after that huge win against Boston in a shootout, this is something you want to be talking about on the plane, on the bus, on this road trip. You want to be bonding over this. Like this is one of those character building road trips, and to have Lecky a part of that, that's what you need, especially if he's going to be a part of this machine going forward into the playoffs. You want Lecky on board. So his presence there, it's going to be incredible. He's a fan favorite, a team favorite, and I can't wait to see him hit the ice again.
This road trip's a little bit different than last year, because last year they were struggling. Like they were just losing. So it was kind of like, let's just get away from home. The whole bonding thing on the road. This is, you're where you are in the standings is right towards the top of the standings, but it's coming off of a very big win against a very good team. And that is, all right, now we're going on a trip. Let's continue that. It's a different type of bonding, but, kind of in the same realm of we're going on a trip. Let's just continue that. We don't have to worry about, the home market or the home crowd right now. We can just focus on the game and away you go. And when that kind of like bleeds into, kind of these leftovers that we have from the Avs and Bruins, it's not that I forgot Lehkonen's not on the team, but they're doing all of this without him. They're doing that. Last year, it was like, we had so many injuries that it was just impossible not to remember we're out this guy, we're out this guy, we're out this guy. but you're still plugging along here. And it's been so long. Like, he's missed like 20 something games, which is just hard to fathom that he's missed that many games, but it makes sense, right? So you're missing him. You didn't have Miles Wood in that game, Josh Manson. Like, you do have some injuries, nowhere near what last year was. But specifically with Lehkonen, like, they're doing this. And every time I think of like, oh yeah, they don't have him back yet.
Yeah.
Just that's just a boost for this team. So the fact that he's making the trip, that's kind of like where I was with like my leftovers, is like, wow, like, yeah, like you again, not that you forget he's on the team, but you forget that, man, like, once they get him back, they're only just going to improve.
And that's a wonderful thing. Like last year, it was significant injuries for long periods of time, and like Lehkonen is, I think, the longest injury the Avalanche has sustained to date.
This
And
year?
with
Yeah.
yes, and with without Landeskog, I hear everybody typing away.
Yeah, no,
Like we know about Landeskog. But it's like everybody else's day to day. Like Manson could plug in anytime. Like Miles Wood, bring it on. Like, so to have a full healthy roster and you beat the Bruins, the big bad Bruins, without key members of this team speaks a lot. And like I like that as part of the leftovers. And where I want to go with the leftovers real quick, we've Georgie won a game, so we're going to stop dogging on him for a little bit. So everybody goes to the 2C question.
Right.
Watching that game, do you not think it's about time to bump Ross Colton up to that 2C and put him with Drouin?
With Drouin?
Yes.
I don't know. Like, I'm kind of big on like riding like the hot hand, and the way that Drouin is playing right now, I have no problem with him being on the top line right now. If I wouldn't be against. I love Ross Colton.
I
love
think
it. So yeah,
I think this is about time where we start kicking the tires on that. Like, I know Rijo, he's got one less point than Ross Colton right now, and Drouin's got 21. So, like, you're talking about riding the hot hand. This is kind of where you put your lines. You're riding hot hands, and it's tiers of hot hands. And whatever you do with that top line, that's fine. But I think it's about time to bump up Ross Colton and whoever he wants to bring with him up to that second line.
He's been there a couple times. It's not like his number one spot, but I don't know. No, I mean, I wouldn't. I like his game. I like how he plays. So,
and with what Rijo brings, I think that would only help the third line, especially if you're going third line matchups. Like having Rijo pulling faceoffs on a third line matchup, I think that would be really beneficial to the Avs really rolling deep lines into this road trip.
Whenever you bring a guy down, like someone like Ryan Johansson, like veteran, been around for a while, it's not just going the way that he wants it to go right now in Colorado. So whenever you bring he's expected to be that 2C, and when someone like that's not, and you in a sense give him a demotion, whether it's the third line or fourth line, if it was me, I would take that as like, okay, like where I've been in this league, if I'm going down there, I should be the best on that bottom six by far. So, and then that can just build up your confidence if you do prove that and become the best on a third or fourth line. So we'll see what happens. I don't know if Miles Wood is going to be back. That kind of throws some wrench into some things here with Jason Poland. I didn't see that they sent him back down, did they?
I didn't see it either.
I don't know if I missed it, but I don't think they sent it. So maybe he's making the trip, which maybe means Miles Wood is not ready yet. We'll see. We'll see where all this goes. And the other thing that stuck out with me real quickly is everybody talking about this Pastrnak shootout shot. and I mean, I don't watch a ton of Bruins games, but I think you were telling me, and I did see it somewhere else, but he has tried that before, where it's just a quick, just catch the goalie off guard, try to go 5-hole. And it just looked that maybe he didn't get as much like mustard on it as he wanted to. And it's one of those things, we were just talking about it after the show yesterday. Like, if he pulls it off, it's like, oh my God, the man is a genius, because nobody else does that. And if he doesn't pull it off like he did, everybody's talking about it as if like, what did he do? Just phone it in on that shootout? So I'm getting kind of a kick out of people being on one side of the aisle or the other with this thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those, it's beautiful when it works, and when it
Yeah.
doesn't, everybody kind of laughs, but everybody laughed at the knuckle puck, and look, the Ducks won the Goodwill Games off of it.
From our subtext people, we didn't get to them yesterday just because it was so busy, but we got a few from the game. Vargar, I said, now that felt like a playoff game. Intensity all the way through for both sides. LOC had my favorite Avs goal of the year. Just sheer determination and will. The Avs played with skill, speed, and attention to detail. I love to see that effort going forward. Thoughts on our good friend Vargar's comments there.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. That was a complete 60-minute game, top to bottom. Like it's hard to find something where you're like, I don't know about this. No, this was a really good game against a quality opponent.
Easton, who, by the way, Easton, I'm going to call you out here, bud. You did say they were going to lose this game 4-2. So I give you credit for that.
Shame.
But hey, I give him credit for being true to himself. But he said crazy game, not bad defensive effort with Jones and Malinsky. And if we could just get that one back-breaking save, these games would feel not so anxiety-ridden. And then he has a hashtag, still have faith in Georgie.
Jones and Malinsky, that sounds like a True Detective pairing.
Is that or like a law firm or something like
that?
Jones
and Malinsky, we're here for you.
Madam Battle Axe, man, I thought I was at Wimbledon. Back and forth game. Georgie was in the zone. He had a great game. Both goalies were amazing. I couldn't believe how much time the top line was on the ice, averaging 30 minutes. That's amazing. Top star for me was Devon Taves. He was just fire tonight. Let's keep this going. Got Vegas next. Got to clean up some little mistakes, cut down on the turnovers, and then can't wait to hear the show, obviously. So, yeah. What was the one thing that she said in there that was the Wimbledon thing was funny, but Taves, that's the other thing that I still am. Anybody that wants to listen about hockey, I'm telling them about the defensive clinic that Taves put on. I'm still thinking about it. It was a thing of beauty.
And with games like that, he might not have the C on his sweater, but he is the defensive leader on this team. Cale Makar is out there doing his superhero thing, but Taves is the leader of the defense. And he is that, especially with those young guys like Jones and Malinsky, like their fault. Like, if that's your example, you're only setting up the next generation of Avs defensemen off on the right foot.
And then Keegan said game was a slugfest and went into OT with the winner by nuke. Just need to get the score right next time. I guess his so he said 6-5 in OT was his guess. You were close. Great game by the Avs. Everyone played well. Georgie showed up when it mattered. Team came out of the gates with a playoff hockey drive. Overall, great win at home and a necessary win before Vegas comes to town. That's true, man. Like it's like not that the Avs would be looking ahead. You're not dismissing the Boston Bruins at all, but you lose that game and then you just have that weight on your back. Like, okay, now Vegas is up next. So you get that win, lightens the load a little bit, and then you feel good going into another tough opponent during this hell week that the Avalanche had, or this hell stretch that they have. So yeah, makes you feel good.
Yeah, and you don't want to see this playoff type performance again in February. You want to see them carry it to the Vegas game.
Yeah. So, all right, let's get into some All-Star talk a little bit. Even though I hate it, I don't know. I mean, you're not crazy about it. I think you like it more than I do, but because I don't think anybody despises it much as I do. But let's talk about it and a big problem that the NHL has with it, and we'll discuss that coming up next. Right now, we're going to hear from FanDuel. The NFL regular season is wrapped up, but you can still get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets. Those bonus bets are guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's right. You get $150 in bonus bets when you place a $5 bet. You get those bonus bets, win or lose. The app is super easy to use. There's many different ways to bet, like the live same game parlays. You can find bets in the new Explore tab. Make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, which is the best way to find popular parlays and more. So visit fanduel.com/locked on to make your first bet a
triple play.
Love it. Love it. A FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. We are kind of in all-star mode. Kind of people are getting excited about it because now we know, excuse me, that the all-stars from the East and the West, one player per team, which I guess was adopted by Major League Baseball. I don't think basketball doesn't do that, do they? There's no way that they can do that.
I don't think so.
Enough roster play. Yeah, maybe they do. Whatever. I know baseball does it. And hockey has now adopted it. Baseball, I kind of understand because you can get through all of those guys during the course of a game, bringing guys in and out. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of roster spots available on a Major League Baseball team, which you can expand for an all-star game, for an exhibition game. Hockey's a little bit different. You're doing this, you've changed it up a little bit. You're still doing the 3-on-3, I think. But they're going back to the draft, the fantasy draft, which is fine. But this one player per team rule has to go. It must go, Kyle. And this is why. And it's very simple. Because now what we've done is we've given one player per team. And for the Avalanche, it's Nathan McKinnon. Deserving, fine. But now we're voting on who the remaining players are. And I think it's 8 skaters that get in East and West. So what do we have to do? We have to vote for guys like Cale Makar to get it, and Leon Draisaitl to get it, and Nylander to get in, who is leading the forwards in votes right now, and Artemi Panarin to get in, who's having a fantastic season, even though he said he's not going to go because his wife is expecting a child during that All-Star break. Who else is on here? For the goalies, Swayman, Georgiev's on it. Georgiev is 4th right now, by the way, in goalie voting. And you know what another name I'm going to throw out right now for you? Because this is his last year. And this is what like All-Star games are for, right? For guys, Marc-Andre Fleury.
Yeah.
It's exactly what they're for.
Yeah.
Put him in there. It's his last season. He's a Hall of Famer. That is what fans want to see. But you know what we're getting instead? We're getting some player who I don't know who it is right now. Maybe they did announce it, from the Chicago Blackhawks, because the Blackhawks have a injured reserve list that's, the size of like the Empire State Building. And it's almost like a checklist. It's almost like Connor Bedard. And again, like everybody would want to see him, but he's injured. Okay, he's off. And then you just go down the list of guys who it could be. They're all on injured reserve. So now you're left with a guy who is not an all-star. Whoever it is, take your pick from the Chicago Blackhawks active roster right now. That guy is not deserving of an all-star game. And he's taking a spot away from guys like Cale Makar, Mikko Rantanen, Leon Draisaitl. The list goes on and on. This is stupid. It needs to end.
And then you get guys like Oliver Bjorkstrand from Seattle who gets selected, and Seattle makes this whole beautiful video about we're going to surprise him with this all-star selection, and he's disappointed he has to cancel his vacation plans. Yeah. Like, even the all-stars don't want to be at the all-star game, so we don't need to select every team because not everybody wants to be there.
But a guy like that's not expecting it. He's not really expecting it. So of course he's going to go make other plans. And I'm seeing some people in Avalanche Nation saying like, well, I'm not going to vote for Cale Makar anymore. Vote for him. I hate the All-Star game, but it's and I'm not going to say it's meaningful to the players, but at the end of their career, when they're tallying all the awards and trophies, All-Star game's on there. How many All-Star games did you go to? Vote for them. They don't need the rest. Going to the All-Star game is rest.
Yeah.
Have you watched the game? They're not putting in effort. It's a morning skate. So I don't like. I'm seeing a lot of people saying like, "Oh, don't vote for him, don't vote." No, vote for him because it is a fan service and fans do want to see that. So send them. But it's just ridiculous that we have to like there's three or four top 10 players in the league that have to get voted in for fans to enjoy them rather than the league being smart enough to say like this is who the fans would want to see in an all-star game. It's the dumbest thing in the world and it just adds to the stupidity of the all-star game in total.
And it's one of those things, those fans that say I don't want to vote for Cale Makar, I don't want to vote for Mikko Rantanen. Well, I hate to break it to you Avs fans, the rest of the league, when they see those names up there, they're going to vote for those guys
sure.
because you want to see, if you're a fan of the Islanders, oh man, I'd love to see Cale Makar in a relaxed environment where he's not beating my Islanders or Mikko Rantanen where he's not beating my Blue Jackets.
Right.
Like, you want to see those players. This is a opportunity. You're not watching 82 Avalanche games. You're not tired of these names. You're not just sick to death of, wow, 4-point night. That's awesome. No, these are the players people want to see. So they're going to go in whether you want it or not.
And especially with this year, the game being in Toronto, that's an East Coast team. Those fans don't get to see Cale Makar a lot.
That's right.
They don't get to see Draisaitl a lot. So that it doesn't make any sense. It's not an all-star game.
No.
There's a ton of all-stars, don't get me wrong, but like when we're including guys that really are not deserving and we're just checking the box because they play for a team, it's okay if a team doesn't have an all-star. It's okay. If Chicago doesn't have an all-star, that is fine. If the San Jose Sharks don't have an all-star, that is fine. It's almost like excuse me, like the Baseball Hall of Fame. Like every year, like there doesn't have to be an all-star, or excuse me, there doesn't have to be a Hall of Famer going into the Hall of Fame every single year. It's the Hall of Fame. It should be selective. But no, we do this thing where it's like, nope, every year we have to put at least one person in, because if we don't have that, big event in Cooperstown, that hurts the community. And I get that part, but come on.
It's turned the all-star game into the all-representative team.
Right.
Like every team. And honestly, who wants to see Boone Jenner? Why is he an all-star? Because he's been the name that circulated the most around every trade deadline since his time in Columbus. And Boone Jenner is going to the all-star game. That's about it. Congratulations.
Colorado, the Colorado Avalanche have 3 all-stars on their team, hands down. No ifs, ands, or buts. And all 3 of them should be going. And it's kind of just laughable that it's probably not going to be Mikko. Cale Makar will probably get in, but
you can watch Nick Suzuki from the Canadiens, let him skate around and say, do we want to trade for this guy? Because he's not going to stick around in Montreal.
All right. End of the rant there. So it just really, Peter Griffin grinds my gears when we discuss the All-Star game. We're going to discuss, are you ready for it, Kyle? Trevor Zegras. Is he on the market? And is this an avenue the Avalanche would go down if he is on the market? We're going to talk about that coming up next. Right now, we're going to hear from Jace Medical. And I know we come to sports to escape. Hold on. There we go. We're going to come to sports to escape from some of the crazy realities of real life. But we just got to talk for a minute about preparing for real life. And according to the FDA, pharmacies are running out of antibiotics like amoxicillin. I always love that word. Amoxicillin just rolls off the tongue. Right in the middle of the worst flu season in over a decade. And that is scary. We can't imagine a more helpless feeling than if we have kids, Kyle. Imagine if our kids, if they got sick while a supply chain issue kept them from life-saving medication that they needed. And thankfully we'll be okay because of Jace Medical. The Jace case is a pack of 5 different antibiotics to treat a long list of bacterial illnesses, including UTIs, respiratory infections, sinusitis, skin infections, among others. This stuff could happen to any of us. And with jacemedical.com, you can complete your physician encounter, and it will be reviewed by a board-certified physician and your medications will be dispensed by a licensed pharmacy at a fraction of the regular cost. It's never been more important to prepare than today. So go to jasemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com and use the offer code locked on, and you will get 20% off your order. This could be huge. You order it, put it in your medicine cabinet, and away you go. jasemedical.com. Order today. All right, my friend. Oh, he's doing the fingers. He's got the spirit fingers going. Rumors abound, and take it with a grain of salt because we don't know the truth. Here's the funny part of it. You and I were talking a couple hours. It's not funny, but you and I were talking a couple hours ago. We're just doing some pre-production on what we're going to talk about for today's episode. And then I, said, I'm hearing this stuff going around that Trevor Zegras, the Ducks might be shopping him, might be available. That got you excited. And then what happens 10 minutes later, in the game that they're playing right now, as we're recording this, he got hurt and it didn't look good. He kind of fell like backwards, like on his back, and walking down the tunnel, he needed a lot of help. So you have all of this talk of Trevor Zegras might be on the block, and then we'll have to wait and see now what this injury is, because that could put a wrench into it. Let's just assume he's okay, and if he is injured, it's not for very long, and he is on the market. I know your answer, but try to pull your fandom out of this. Just from a business standpoint, from Avalanche land, would something like this make sense for them?
Okay. Again, there is no personal feelings in this. This is a Avalanche opinion. No.
What? I am shocked, sir.
Well,
shocked. Okay, why?
We're talking trade deadline deal. Like this is a trade. They're shopping him around. That's wonderful. It's one of those, we have one of these at home. The Jonathan Drouin project is our Trevor Zegras project. Trevor Zegras has 7 points on the year.
Well, how many games has he played?
That's the other thing. Why would we have somebody who's having a little bit of injury problems come to Colorado when we're just talking about, wow, this is nice that Lehkonen has been the longest sustained injury, and we're talking about somebody being helped down the tunnel. Like, again, I'm detaching all of my personal feelings out of this, because if I was just playing fantasy GM here, like Zegras fits Los Angeles Kings. Like, he is LA boy. Like, and coming into Colorado, like, why would you?
I don't think Anaheim would ever trade him to Los Angeles, though. That's the interdivision thing.
The other, that's never going to happen. But that's the prototypical. That's the perfect spot for him.
Yeah, I mean, especially 22-year-old, he would torture them for years. So
it would be the best. You have that little rivalry going. It's an ESPN thing every time they play. But then for the Colorado Avalanche, it just doesn't make sense. We're talking about this team trying to find identity. Why would you bring in a guy he's got cool moves, he's got a cool attitude, but what does that how does that improve your 2023-2024 Colorado Avalanche?
I mean, and now you have to bring in like the injury part of it, even minus like what happened before we recorded this. He's caught an injury bug a little bit this season, so he's only got 19 games played, 4 goals, 3 assists for 7 points. Years prior to that, last year 65 points in 81 games. Year prior to that, 61 points in 75 games. So and he's flashy. He is very flashy.
And I'll raise you. They just traded away the Robin to his Batman, and they got rid of Jamie Drysdale in Anaheim. So that's also not going to help him. But when I would do anything. Like, I don't care what his contract to have a Trevor Zegras Avalanche jersey. Perfect. I love it. It'll go right next to all my Nazem Kadri jerseys. But he's not going to fit in with what the Avalanche are doing.
I can't believe I'm saying this. We are on opposite sides of this. This is something I would absolutely entertain if this is in their wheelhouse. Absolutely in the wheelhouse. And the reason for that is like this is like and I'm not saying they're going to do it, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that, because he's clearly injured. You have to wait and see what this injury means. So there is some concern there just for this year. He's been pretty good up until now, but it's a small sample size. Obviously, the past 2 years he's played at almost full seasons.
Yeah, if we
This
were
year,
talking about those last two, we'd have a completely different conversation. But
and you
watching
have
him
to
this
be
year, it's rough.
you have to be concerned, like, is this going to linger for
Mhm.
years to come? We don't know yet, obviously. But the reason why, this is like Artturi Lehkonen, kind of like 2.0. You get a guy who's young, or you would get a guy who's young. He's got term. He's got 2 more years after this year, and then he's a restricted free agent. That is exactly what the Avalanche wants. That is why when we did the Lindholm show, like, that's not going to happen, because that's not what the Avalanche do. They don't bring in high-priced rentals just to lose them and lose picks and players or prospects in the process. This is more their speed. And the number on him scares me a little bit. He's at 5.75. So you would need to, what's going out.
Just say Ryan Johansson to say it.
I don't think the Ducks would want Ryan Johansson, because the Ducks are close, right? The Ducks are not they're rebuilding, but they're getting there. Ryan Johansson doesn't help them. They would want someone like Bo Byram. That is exactly what they want. And I think if you're the Avalanche, this is why I wouldn't, up until now, I would never have the conversation of Bo Byram, because I don't think there was never any deal that I saw out there that I was like, no, I would give that. I'm not doing a rental. I'm not giving up Bo Byram for a rental. Would I give up Bo Byram for Trevor Zegras if it's a healthy Trevor Zegras? Yeah, man, I am entertaining that. It would be close. It would be really one, and they'd have to retain some salary, because those salaries don't match up. So they'd have to retain some of his salary, and you get Bo Byram, because like something's going to happen, whether it's this year or in the offseason, on the defensive end for the Avalanche. They cannot keep all these guys that they have, pay them all, and be able to pay the forwards as well. Something needs to happen on the defensive end. And on top of that, you still have some defensive prospects that you have not entertained yet. Barons is one, and Gulyayev is another, who he's maybe a year or two away from coming in. So you have that. And then you have Sam Malinsky, who looks like a great pickup for now. I'm just throwing this out here, people. I love Bo Byram. Love him. But you need help a little bit on, a middle six guy. That's Zegras. My issue is the injury part of it. But this is the first time where I am saying on any deal that would include Bo Byram, this would make sense. That's where I'm at. I just changed your mind. I can see I changed your mind.
Can you give me Zegras and Ilya Lyubushkin for Ryjo and Bo Byram, or Sam Girard? Alternate.
Sam Girard instead of Bo Byram?
Yeah, because Sam, even with as incredible as his play has been, he's got 6 points on the year.
Sam Girard?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's
and we're talking Ryjo money, and we're talking Sam Girard money for Lyubushkin.
I mean,
and Trevor Zegras. There's your gritty defender, and there's you a 2 or 3C.
And then he's an unrestricted. Lyubushkin's an unrestricted, so you're kind of maybe getting him at a rental price. See, now we're getting into interesting stuff here.
Yeah. When you pitched that's the first thing that came to my mind when you started dipping into the defense. I was like, oh, we can make.
I mean, it would make sense for them to get rid of him, because he's unrestricted, if they don't feel like they can sign him.
And so Sam still has some term, so you're going term for term.
He's got a lot of term.
Yep,
Sam has a lot of term left. I mean, if you're getting rid of Girard and Ryan Johansson, that's $9 million coming off of your books right away. And I mean, that's kind of a haul. I think that's too much to get just for Zegras. I've really liked Sam Girard's game this year. Bo Byram is, I like it. I thought it was going to take another step up. It hasn't happened. That doesn't mean he's playing poorly. But I was expecting him to be, I picked him as like my breakout guy of the year. I don't think that's happening, but he's kind of just, it seems like, I'm not saying he's peaked, but he's kind of maintained that level he's had last year. I haven't really seen him take that next step up. If the Avalanche feel like this is all we're going to get out of him, which is good, not great, maybe you sell while the his number 4 overall pick is still, hanging on his shoulders, and you can get a little bit more for him now. I don't know.
Yeah, you tell me take my personal feelings out of here, and then you introduce something like that, and then it just all falls away. I'm like, oh, but wait. Here's a package that'll work.
Right. It's an interesting one, but I will end it with this, sir. Is this all for naught? Because, and I said not for our vocabulary experts out there. Jason Hernandez, our good buddy over at Locked On Ducks, I had to ask him about it. I said, what's up with the Zegras stuff? And he just had one sentence for me. They're just unfounded rumors, is what he said. So whatever we're talking about here probably means nothing in the long run.
That's what he wants us to think.
Oh, are we doing that? Are we doing that? We're having conspiracy theories here. So we'll see. At least it's fun to talk about, at the very least. So, all right, that is going to wrap it up. We will probably be off tomorrow. We have some things to tend to, but we will be discussing this Vegas and Avalanche game the following day. So stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, follow us on our social media accounts where we're tweeting and all that fun stuff during the game, and then we'll talk about it the following day. All right, everyone, it's going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for tuning in, making it your first listen of the day. Always appreciated. He is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I am Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast, and we'll see you guys on Friday.